All right. Chapter 2, we talked about basic cellular network functionality, and we're talking a little bit about interoperability. Define interoperability? Different components working together, okay?
Systems being able to communicate.
Anyone else have a different opinion? What about convergence? Convergent networks. Have you all heard that term before? Have you seen a convergent network?
That has to do with the, that's a PBX system, isn't it? Packet.
Not necessarily. Raise your hand if you've heard of convergent network.
I've heard of it.
How many of you know what a convergent network is? Convergent network just means you have multiple types of network traffic on that network. Voice, data, phone, or video. Voice, data, and video. That's a convergent network. Interoperability works in the exact same way. You have multiple resources put together to come together to make one. Okay? They interoperate. Can we have a college without teachers and students and facilities? No. You have to have some of each, right? That would be an interoperability. We're all dependent, like interdependency, upon each other, right? So when we're talking about mobile environment, we're talking about interoperability of components like SMS, which is short message service, right? LMS, long message service. Voice calls, IP, so you can do your gaming or chatting or surf the web, right? What about MMS? Video, pictures, right? What about electronic faxing? You can take a picture and send it off, right? So those are kind of the different device applications or processes that you can do. Now, there's tons more, but those are your basic setup and basic structure. Now, when we talked about the network switch subsystem, right? Y'all remember that on your quiz. And I asked you to define what are some parts of the network subsystem. What are they?
Base transceiver.
I hate that stupid thing. What?
Base transceiver.
A base transceiver. You have to have something to transmit, right? What else?
Oh, the device itself.
The device itself. That would be kind of helpful, wouldn't it?
The user.
The user, the subscriber, right? What else? Doesn't it have to have the internet? If we're using web, IP traffic, doesn't it have to have the PTSN or the public switch telephone network or the PSTN? Did I say PTSN? PSTN. So that you can actually make your voice calls, right? Well, what's the major core though? We have our network switching subsystem, right? Where you have your LMS, your SMS, your voice, your data, your registers, all that together comprises of our mobile ecosystem, right? Or the mobile area. Now, that was of the GSM. How many of you know what the difference between GSM and CDMA is? You should if you read chapter 2. Y'all remember those names, right? GSM was the older technology. CDMA is what we're dealing with now. Okay? So, in GSM, we had certain things called control channels. What is a control channel?
Wasn't it a channel that covered everything that wasn't actively used, like the text message and voice calls?
No, it's close. That wasn't the right one, though. That was traffic channels. What is a control channel? Think about it. What does the word control mean? It sends the controlling message. It's the one that tells, okay, Mark, I'm going to talk to you specifically, but I'm going to talk to you in German. You're going to say, no, I need to talk to you in English because I don't understand German. Okay, well, I'll talk to you in English. It's the one that says and starts that form of communication. It's the one that gives that acknowledgement and the synchron. Thank you. I can't say it today. And the acknowledgement. Remember on the three-way handshakes, right? And I'm not saying synergy like so many movies when they do this. But in order to understand how this control works, we've got to look deeper into the components, right?
The control channel handles like all the overhead stuff.
Exactly. It's the manager. It's
Everything except voice data.
right. It doesn't really deal with data, period. It controls all of it. Now you have traffic channels that are specific to voice and data and IP and all that stuff.
And somebody figured out, hey, we can put all this text stuff on the control channel. It's like free. It's not cost us any extra overhead. It's already there. And so that's why they started giving people
Free texting.
text.
Exactly. Did y'all catch that? Control channel. All it is just text messages going back and forth to acknowledge, send and receive. You have a lot of throughput on that, but you're limited on your actual data or your traffic channel. So they said, hey, why don't we use this other channel to put the data together so that we can do more functionalities with the phone simultaneous.
Now, would GSM do that as well?
Yes.
Okay, so either it doesn't matter whether it's CDMA or
CDMA is just the new U.S. standard.
and that has the name has to do with the differences or how it deals with collision domains or something, or I mean, essentially
Part of it, yes.
Okay, in that case, what is the difference on the phones when you take and refer to them for the GSM or the CDMA as in the smart card that goes into the phone?
I didn't catch the first part.
Okay, I'm so used to taking and referring to like my T-Mobile
Okay.
using GSM phones because it has a smart card
Mhm.
versus a Sprint, which requires you to take and input the IMEI number for them to take and register the phone.
All it is the phone design.
Okay.
The newer phones don't have the smart card technology anymore.
GSM and CDMA are also on different frequencies.
Okay.
It's just how the phone is configured. Most phones here in the United States now are CDMA. They still have GSM phones, but they're more the CDMA. And the reason they're going to the CDMA is part of the architecture on that allows you to go worldwide with your phone. Used to, you had your regional phones, like Germany. You would only have a phone that could be in Germany. Once you cross over to the Swiss border, you're at SOL. You had to go get one of the payphones or the paypers.
And that's GSM.
No, they have their own different. I forget what it is, but
didn't most of Europe go
and then they went to CDMA first. In them and Asia, we tagged along, and that's why we were able to do the global phones. Because when I left back in 2001 from Germany to come back here, I had a phone that I had signal over there, and I brought it here, and I was able to talk. But I could not take a U.S. phone and take it over there and talk because of the technology. And so that's where it comes from. That's a little bit of the differences. So everyone's kind of going to the CDMA to give a better, well, it's not really better, but give you more benefit with your phone than you're limited to with some of the GSM phones.
Don't the CDMA, don't they use more IP?
Do what?
They use more of the IP protocols?
They're more your really. They're
They're
world basic
closer to a VoIP?
exactly than they are a true PSTN phone. It's just that more advanced technology, and I wouldn't call them VoIP because they're not literally attached to a network because you have to connect to a Wi-Fi in order to be
But they're
a
closer
VoIP.
than-
Exactly. I mean, it's basically
They're
like a
getting
VoIP.
closer to wireless VoIP than,
And that's why you're able to do FaceTime. That's why you're able to do Google Talk or Google Chat or whatever it's called. When you can, same thing as FaceTime. Or is it Google Chat? I forget what it is on Android, but do what?
Hangout.
No, Google. Is it,
I-
they went to
Hangout.
Google Hangout now? Okay. I knew they did that with the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't remember what I know they changed the name several times on it. So.
A couple of years ago, American companies, cellular companies, were kind of being divided along CDMA and GSM lines. Is that going away? Are most everybody trying to go into
CDMA. And reason being is most of your LTE phones are CDMA. LTE, your 4G LTEs, so they can actually bring in all the signals from the 3 different locations. Everyone know what LTE does, right? Who does not know what LTE does?
I know it stands for long-term evolution.
It's long-term evolution. Okay, if I'm going down the highway here, used to, as you were traveling down the highway, you have a signal here and a signal here, and you would just flip-flop going down. You only have one tower. Now, to get the speeds, all 3 towers are connecting to you. That's because you're going to be able to get more precise with GPS location and targeting. Your location on the phone, like I told you day one, all your phones record where you're at. It's because it travels through this, and as long as you keep on going, you're going to keep on picking up all these signals. LTE just means that you can have 3 towers, so 3 times the bandwidth coming to your phone simultaneously. They found is, if I only have 1 tower out there, I'm really only servicing that much, right? Am I getting a big benefit? Because what was going to happen is this one would come here, and people were losing signals right in here. People were complaining all the time about losing the signals between towers, right? You hate to be on the phone and you lose a signal. You take half an inch or a millimeter and you lose a signal? How many of y'all have had drop calls even in your own house, right? I'm laying on a bed, not even moving, and I lose signal. It's crazy. But it's because of this type of activity. Well, when you went to 4G LTE, you now had overlapping continuously signals because you were getting 3 into the area in which you were in versus 1. Yes, Brittany?
So pardon my ignorance possibly, but it's been a while back, like the cell phone companies, they were like, oh, well, if you don't have signal, they would give you a device to use in your home to boost your signal.
Yes.
How does that work?
All it is it's a cell device itself. It's just a Wi-Fi, and you would plug it into your modem or your router, connecting Cat5, and all it does is broadcast a signal, a cellular signal, the cellular Wi-Fi, if you will, in your home.
It kind of sets up a little personal land, doesn't it?
Exactly.
But it still just boosts the signal. It doesn't give you an extra source of data.
Right.
No.
I know, like Sprint had it.
Sprint had it, however, and they still do. However, when I found out a little thing about that particular device that you're mentioning, when you plug it into your LAN, they can also snoop your LAN.
Sprint is its own network.
Once I found it out, I disconnected it immediately. I don't want them to know what's on my computer. If I'm going to surf Verizon, or if I'm going to go surf AT&T's website to see if I can get a better deal. But anyway, that's what LTE does. What is the location update? We're talking a little bit about, with the 4G and the GSM used to have, 3G was only that 1 tower, right? 3GS. But as you were going through, it could only target you to up to this point where it lost signal. So they didn't have you here. Part of it is now you have this E911, right? From your cell phones. They can actually now target where your location, where you're calling from. It's getting better and better for them to do that. And that's part of the reason why you're going to LTE versus going back to 3G.
There's a neat website you could use to demonstrate this. I did it, drove to Talipol, and I could go on this website and actually see where Google tracked me all the way to Talipol and back. It'll show me every tower I hit, what time I hit it.
And actually, it's kind of a scary thing because people are going to get power happy with that type of activity and say, oh, well, you can't possibly get from here to here without speeding. Then you get this funky ticket in the mail.
That's basically what they do in the Netherlands and in Germany. That's why they don't have. They have
Oh, they have cars on the side of the road. They'll have hidden cameras in Germany. You don't know it. You get flashed. You're like, what in the world? Now, I'm not talking, Mark, get your mind out of the gutter. Yeah, Tommy. You and Cameron need to be, and Anthony need to be quiet about last night.
Well, going in Germany, there's a sign that says camera area, but if you can't read German, it doesn't even fit.
You would know, right, Roger?
I'll say,
No, I've seen, when I was driving one time in Germany, I came up over a little bridge, and you have an immediate downturn to the left, and as soon as you turn that hill automatically just kind of forces you to be breaking the speed limit as you get around the curve. They had a car sitting there with the camera. It didn't get me. I was lucky. I was like 1 click under, but a couple of cars were trying to do that drifting, and catch them. Because I'd be driving and I'd just see that flashing off their windshield and I'd just laugh. And one of these days I'll get caught doing something really stupid.
Well, at least here you have to physically get caught for the most part, but.
Now, Denny, I'm not trying to be nosy about Norman. Do y'all have any traffic cameras? Okay. Do you know, and this is free advice, if a red light camera or a stationary camera gives you a ticket and they show a picture of anything inside your vehicle, that ticket is thrown out.
They're like invasion of privacy.
It's invasion of privacy because your expectation of privacy includes the inside of your vehicle. That's why they have to ask. Denny would have to come ask you to search your vehicle. If you don't give him permission, then he has to go get a warrant.
Where'd you hear that at?
I know it for a fact.
Really?
It's part of the law.
You're good.
Do what?
Anything in plain view, you're good.
No.
I can walk up to the car, look in, and if I see
It's invasion. It's invasion of privacy. Now you would have a reason to go to that car, so you already have probable cause. Then it doesn't matter.
I can walk through the parking lot, look in the
That's what I'm saying. You in your duty, look at, and it gives you probable cause then to enter that vehicle and search it. But for you to come up and say, from a stoplight camera, getting in and taking my picture, you didn't ask my permission for it. Doesn't matter whether you posted it or not. It's against the law.
Not to play devil's advocate or something, but is there like there probable cause that you were like speeding or running a red light in the first place? I mean, could they look at it like that since you're already?
The Supreme Court has thrown it out. You have your expectation of privacy inside your vehicle. Now, if the camera is facing the tail side of your vehicle, because that's where everyone's license plate has to be, because some states you don't have it on the front and some you do. If they only get that side, that's fine. They can get from the back side and come through the window because that's all. There's no way you can block that out. But it's for, let's say, Denny, you and I are coming in opposite directions, and you look into my vehicle. What's happening is a lot of people are looking. I know this is a little off subject, and Denny's an officer. That's why I'm talking to him about it. If you were to go in and look into my vehicle while you're driving, they're going to nail you with inattentive driving, reckless endangerment, and reckless driving. You would get them for a seatbelt violation. Just saying they didn't have a seatbelt on. Then they're going to come around and sue you for invasion of privacy because you didn't have their permission to look into their vehicle while you were driving. And that's where it comes out. But in your...
that argument. One I've heard though is misdemeanor offense that didn't occur in an officer's presence, you can't actually get a ticket for it.
The person that witnessed it can give that individual a ticket, but you just have to give them the sheet of paper for the ticket or whatever for the... I forget how that works, but...
Not a traffic camera though, because
Oh, no.
in South Dakota we had a traffic camera at an intersection, and the lawyer went and brought it forward, revealed that, and they ended up taking the cameras out and everything.
Yeah, it's because it's invasion of privacy. That's the part of it.
Well, I think it's because there wasn't an actual officer there to issue the ticket.
Right.
I don't know about the base privacy.
It's because the camera can't... It would be like me setting up a webcam at my house looking into my neighbor's house. It's illegal.
How can they justify them not like the cameras being since there's no technical officer?
Because you can't really witness that it was that individual. And I'm not trying to get everyone thrown off.
So then, with that being said, then how is that even?
That's why a lot of states are now saying we are cameraing you, and in that state they can further define the federal law that allows traffic cameras. They can further define and say if we post this, it is if a cop is present and it is being monitored, so therefore there is a presence of a cop witnessing that you violated it. Then they can give you a ticket.
How are you, like if they were to update that now, like how are you accountable for receiving that updated information without, you know what I'm saying, like claiming ignorance of the law?
You know how they do it? They send it in your city water bill.
Of that thing that nobody ever reads?
Exactly. Because how do you know that you're a citizen of that city? You pay the water bill. OG&E can't put it out because if you're OG&E customer in Norman versus OG&E customer here in Midwest City, you're going to have different municipal laws. So they won't apply. But if you're in that city, you get notified. Now, Norman is responsible to post it around their city, you know, like the speed can be detected by radar or like Nichols Hills, everyone hates that city, right? Okay, and it has that sign up there specifically. Anywhere with the exception of this posted speed limit is 25 or 15 or whatever it may be. And they write it in fine enough print that you almost have to be on it to read it. But the second you pass that sign, you're actually in that thing and they'll light you up. And so I look from a distance, but then the argument is, well, because it's not attached to a speed limit sign, it's just a regular posted sign. So once you pass it into Nichols Hills, the speed limit drops down to 25. If you didn't read that sign, you're in 25 zone, even though you were in a 35 before you get into Nichols Hills. And that's how they're able to do it. And it's not a speed trap because it's posted.
So wait, the posting is that like you should be going the speed limit of 25 before you reach the sign?
Yes, because once you hit that sign, you're now in that area. Now, I don't know how Denny looks at it, but
Wait. So
but people will. Then you can say is, where did your radar actually hit me? Was I still outside the city?
It's just like a school zone. The moment you pass those lights for a school zone, you have to be at 25 miles an hour.
Right.
And so when you listen, have you ever done it right on the city line, Denny? Because if your radar goes into outside that, let's say I don't know what Norman is it 35 when you come into any of the city streets there in Norman or something?
Most of them are the same, like 60 is
And see, if they're the same, it's not that big of a deal. But for Nichols Hills, once you come in from, if you're coming up on Penn, it's 35. Once you hit Nichols Hills, it's 25. Until you get to the village, then it goes back to 35. And of course, you don't really want to go 35 through all those little windy streets there on Penn anyway, right? I'm sorry, I'm distracted about this. Let's get back to voicemail boxes.
Sorry.
Voicemail boxes. It's a service that can be provided on your mobile device, right? Voicemail, we all have that, except for me. I haven't turned mine on yet. SMS, what is SMS?
Simple message system.
Short.
Short, simple, single message.
How many characters is an SMS? That's Twitter. 160. You know why Twitter's 140? So they send it out as an SMS. That's all Twitter is an SMS. So that you hit your phone with an SMS so that there's no way to get multiple charges. Because the header part of it takes up the extra 20 characters. So they take you down to 140, that's why you're limited to the 140 characters. Now you understand why Twitter's doing that. So that if you have a tweet, or whatever they call it, twerks, tweets, and you send it and it comes into your text message, you only get that 10-cent charge when it was charging you. Alright? So when you're hacking someone's voicemail,
Not that we would, right?
yeah, Brittany.
Disclaimer.
How many of y'all have actually gone to the wnyc.org website that was listed in Chapter 2 about how to hack and look at those exploits? What is a rogue mobile device? Rogue mobile device. Pineapple?
Isn't it just one that's not
If it's connected to a phone.
registered with the system?
Yep. Could be. How do you defend against a rogue mobile device? What would you think? Simple. MAC address filtering. Think of it. Your mobile device is a computer. That's all it is. If I have a laptop with a Wi-Fi signal, what do I want to do if I don't want it on my network? I filter out that MAC address so that it cannot access my network. And if someone figures that out, they go change one digit and hey, maybe they get on. But that's how you work it. Same thing with the phone. You can apply MAC address filtering to prohibit you from getting in or staying on a network or allowing you on the network. What about rogue station attacks? What do y'all think? What is a rogue station?
Pretty much a tower that somebody else has underneath their control.
Mm-hmm. How many competing towers do you see when you're going down the interstate? You can't really distinguish them.
Doesn't Verizon own like?
Especially those fake ones around military bases.
What?
Especially the other, those fake ones around military bases.
What were you saying, Kelly?
Doesn't Verizon own 60% and then they rent tower space to?
I don't know what the percentage is, but each one of the major ones own a certain percentage, and they do lease it out to the smaller carriers.
Yeah.
And that's why you say we are partnered with Verizon, or we're partnered with AT&T, or we're partnered with Sprint. Those three have the towers everywhere. They actually own them. But then you have companies like US Cellular or Metro PCS or Cricket or something. They lease traffic and bandwidth from them. Yes, Roger.
Speaking of your road stations, you see the article on the internet here within the last week that the NSA had a bunch of those set up throughout the country.
I heard about it, but I didn't read the article.
But it shouldn't be surprising.
Well, they're a surveillance agency. Why would it be surprising?
Instead of manning around.
I forget, they even said how many they had, and I forget the number. I think it was like on the order of, I don't even think it was 100, but it was, you know, I'm sure they were strategically placed there, places where they had a reason to want to do that.
What about, let's see here. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about iOS. What type of jailbreaks do they talk about in the iOS chapter?
Boot-based.
Boot-based. What's a boot-based iOS attack? Do what? Okay.
You have to download an image file and the software for it.
Are you doing this side loading? Or are you doing it through a regular app? Guarantee you're not going to do it through a regular app because Apple won't let you. You have to side load them, right? Everyone remember what side loading is? You go through the website and download the app itself.
Or you can do that fancy PDF.
Yep.
I thought that was the other one that,
What about a remote jailbreak? How many of y'all have done a remote or network-based jailbreak? Or you've done one?
Visit the website, like I said, and that was the good old days, though.
I thought remote was the one where you only needed to go to the website.
Mhm.
The other one was you needed to do it.
You have to have the physical phone. That's why I was talking about. We just changed to the remote. That's why I was asking Cameron. What about Coroneth or absinthe? Corona or absinthe?
You have my attention very much.
I'm not talking about alcohol.
That's what I was thinking.
That is the jailbreaking where you can jailbreak on iOS greater than 5. I think it's 5.5 is the highest it goes, but that's one that again you have to have the physical device in hand to be able to do it. What about invasion?
6 and above.
6 and
I
above.
think the other one was actually 4.3 to 5.5 or something.
Yeah, it was up to like 5.5 or something. I forget where it starts, but pretty simple stuff, right? Download these, run them, plug in your phone, you break your phone, and you can do what you want with it. Now, rooting a phone, is that a good thing?
Maybe.
It's not a legal thing, but it's a good thing, maybe, right? Why do you think it's a good thing, Austin?
You can install apps that you want, rather than what's on the app store.
And Apple will.
I can still do that with side loading.
You have more control over what runs and when it runs.
Weeks.
You don't have to have all these extra Google stuff, or if you're on Android, or all this extra Apple iTunes stuff.
And you can tether without having to pay for it. That's
Yeah.
my data and I will use it how I want.
You tell it.
I paid for the phone. I want that. My golly, I'm going to do it, right? This is a very interesting generation. I'll say that. What about Jailbreak Me 3.0? What about it? Did y'all find anything interesting on Jailbreak Me 3.0?
PDF can do so much.
How do you defend against it?
One of the latest.
Do what?
One of the latest and greatest.
Run the latest and greatest iOS, right? Update your iOS.
But you can't
Dave,
Apple.
your ad's breaking.
Do what?
You can't do it through Apple once you break it.
Oh, I know. But there's the iOSs are out there. You can download them. You can always download it through iTunes and leave it on your desktop. And they do it later.
So, this iOS just came out today or yesterday.
Eight.
iOS 8. Does that have the security features for things like this jailbreak?
I haven't looked at iOS 8 yet.
Sorry?
I have not looked at iOS 8 yet to see if there's any major flaws with it.
But you,
I've heard there are,
learned
but
the
I haven't
lessons
seen
from previous versions and incorporated those.
They may have.
Well, it's like that's their goal, is to find the vulnerabilities, because obviously people are gonna talk about it, once they find them. Then they patch it, and then,
When they
go
patch
out
it,
and
they
find
cause
it.
another one.
Yeah, they try and find a new vulnerability. That's all.
It's just like a lie that perpetuates another one, that perpetuates another, perpetuates another.
Doesn't Microsoft do that?
No, Microsoft, you're just a beta tester. You tell them what's wrong with their operating system, and then they fix it.
Yeah.
Yes, Denny?
Well, I guess with iOS 8, I guess it's really secure, and our Apple can't even break into the iPhone itself, because if we go to search for it and say we need this phone, they won't drop. They can't do it now.
Yeah, that's a new thing that Apple's not going to do anymore.
Yeah. No, they're not required to by law to do it, so.
Both the search warrant they are, but now
No, only subpoena. They have to be subpoenaed by a federal judge in order for it to be a requirement.
that's what search warrant is. That's a judge sign saying, hey, you
Well,
got this to do.
They're actually two different things. A search warrant allows you to search the phone, but they don't have to break it so that you can get access into it without the judge saying you have to do these step-by-steps. Now, if you take it to a forensics examiner, they'll do it for you. So when you get that search warrant, you can take it over to a forensic examiner and say, hey, we have a search warrant, can you do this phone? Then they'll do it for you. But legally, you're supposed to have a subpoena and a warrant.
Yeah, supposedly this new one, though, there's none of that anymore.
Well, I mean, it depends on how it's written, too. I mean, I don't know what, if it's, again, it comes down to your municipality. Each one are going to do it differently.
It's supposed to be pretty secure, though.
Like I said, I've heard that it's secure. I haven't gone and been able to mess with it. I'm actually, Ken has ordered us in a iPhone 6 and iPhone 6S, the Plus version, the 6 Plus, to play with. So if it gets in this class, then we'll be able to play with it a little bit. And that has iOS 8 on it. Or will, once they release it, so we'll see.
That's what we said.
They released it yesterday.
Oh, they released it yesterday?
Yeah, I was talking to a friend today, and they were telling me some statistics that less people have updated to iOS 8 and aren't liking it than any other previous iOS.
It's probably because Apple locked it down so much that no one can do anything.
So, who would want that?
Mother may I, right?
I don't know, it's missing a lot of new features.
Is there a lot of new features? I don't have an iOS anymore, so.
I can answer my phone through my iPad now.
Oh,
That's gonna be
I may have to do mine and see.
Yeah,
I can just picture that new 13-inch they're going to have right there on your head. It's like almost going to be like that old beatbox where you have the radio on your shoulder and
I
you're
was
carrying it
teasing my
around.
wife about that, never.
The newest beatbox.
Glad I was-
You'd have Pandora and a phone going on at the same time. Hey, I'm multitasking, right?
One of the nice features I'm waiting for is for Yosemite to come out, the new OS X. So when I get my phone in, I can take and actually answer my phone on my computer system, do my texting from my computer system without having to leave my phone over on the desk.
I think they're trying to compete with Google with the multiple single sign-on type events. What about Focus 11? What's dangerous about Focus 11?
That was cool.
Man in the middle attacks.
That was a cool one where they demonstrated it at some conference where they set up a fake WAP. And another one and routed everything through it.
Yep.
That was pretty
Very, very similar to what a pineapple is. Your laptop will be the man in the middle part of it. Everyone connects to your Wi-Fi, then it uses ICS to go out of your computer out to the real WAP.
And then use the same remote to break into it. They're doing the same two vulnerabilities.
How would you protect against a Focus 11? How would you protect against it? Making sure that it's a digitally signed or secure pre-shared key to that WAP.
Keep it up there.
You keep your updates. Make sure you're not getting any malware. How many of y'all know that there's tons of malware apps in iOS? You should be after this reading this chapter.
I know it's possible, but
Oh, there are tons out there. Just be sure that
can't catch
Well,
it.
that one, like through the flashlight, searchlight, that was just like, oh, and people actually, you know, I just was amazed that they would put that kind of stuff through like their flashlight.
now, just like the little Energizer. Y'all remember the USB Energizer batteries that you can just plug them in and charge your batteries from the USB? The code on the ROM on there has malware in it. And it allows to open up ports so your computer can be a zombie for someone else.
And you said this is on the
Just a little Energizer, the old portable Energizer USBs where you can just has a wraparound. You unplug it, stick it right in a USB, and you can charge either 3 AAA or 2 AA or 2 AAA or something like that. See, it's in maybe it's in
or is that
it's in the book.
Is that supposed to be in the fine print of the device too?
Let's see, where is it?
Well, who put the malware on?
Yeah, where's it been?
China.
Of course.
I think that's why the government quit letting us use USB devices.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Well, I know China, I mean, talking you guys were really.
It could have been Korea. I don't know exactly where.
It was China.
Was it China that did that?
It's China.
They had some computers come in. When was that? From, it wasn't Dell,
It was HP.
it was HP. HP, computers were coming in from being assembled in China. And, you know, they already had, it was right about the time where they started preloading a lot of the software.
Okay, I thought I'd heard the same thing about Lenovo. Line that was coming from China.
No, this was HP.
No, it was HP. And that's what started.
They had spyware already loaded in on it,
Okay.
and you couldn't know, you didn't know it
Until it's too late, and that's where, and then they started finding them on the flash drives that when the U.S. government was ordering them, and that's how they were finding all these loopholes were coming back, or holes in on ports were becoming open because of those. So that's why a lot of new computers now, they will actually, when they get them in, they super glue into the USB ports. Yep, federal government will do that. Now, certain people have access to it because they have the external hard drives, but those hard drives have been scanned and a lot of things done to them before they're allowed even to touch the computer they're on the network.
Yeah.
And it's
VA just has the ISO, two very scary ISOs. Some poor gal actually broke out, started crying when we walked in her office. I don't know what she was doing, but.
let's see here, what else do I want to talk about? What is the greatest threat to a phone?
Physical.
Physical. It's me picking up your phone. If I have your phone, I have your life. Right? I know who you contact, when you contact them. I can find your calendar, your emails, your social networking accounts. I can get a lot of information about you off your phone, right? It's pretty scary.
Some people really get a lot of information.
Yeah, like Ken, right? I mean, I don't know what he does on his phone. I know he's in love with iOS, so it'd be very fun to get his phone, get an image of it, and see what we find out. As far as Android goes, what is the biggest threat with Androids? No? Something that's turned on by default. NFC. Anyone know what NFC is?
Near field communication.
You remember the old app Bump? When your phones would get close enough and you barely touch it or bump into someone? It's based off of NFC, not Bluetooth, like a lot of people thought it was. So if my favorite thing would be to do is to have my phone with NFC on, walk around New York and bump into a bunch of people. and have all that data transferred to my phone. Write a little buggy script on there that extracts all data from phone, and then you're just walking behind someone for about 10 minutes until they freak out thinking they're being followed. And then you can find someone else and bump into them. Oops, sorry.
Just about a bump in there.
I didn't say grind either, but... So what you doing, really, I mean, think about it. If you're walking down a street in New York, how crowded is it? You always have your hands in your pocket. Click, click. Blue jacking people, right? Those are always fun. To blue jack somebody. How do y'all know y'all haven't been blue jacked by me already? Well, you do if you don't have Bluetooth turned on. Right? Wrong. I can still blue jack you. If your phone is off and it's out in the car, outside of 33 feet from you, then you're good. However, this room is only 36 feet long, so none of you are sitting in the very back of it, and I'm off about 5 feet off the wall here. So it means everyone in this room is subject to that Bluetooth connectivity. By the way, I'm not scanning or anything like that. I'm just using it as an example. I don't want your data. I'd be afraid to get what I would.
You enjoy everything that's on.
Yeah, a bunch of cats.
Actually, yes, but
See?
that's weird. I do love cats. I save a ton of cat videos.
I just happen to
That
know
almost
Brittany,
doesn't
and that's
feel
why
like
I said cats, because I know she likes cats. So,
So it could be a little bit of social engineering, but
yeah, Austin's over here really trying to protect his phone. Take the battery out of it. He's really scared of me now, right? In my class, that I'm
I don't
gonna.
think this one has Bluetooth.
Be safe.
Maybe. It still has NFC. Bump him, Austin. Turn on NFC and bump him. See what you get. No.
Okay.
Roger will be like, okay, come on. And it's not just with Android. NFC is also on iOS, but you don't ever really deal with it. That's why they created the Bump app. Because it's not a general setting that you can go change.
Talking about AirDrop.
It's very similar. I don't know what iOS calls it, but it's
Well,
still.
They don't do the buttons AirDrop. They have to physically drop it.
Well, there was they had Bump. Bump was an app on it when I had it. I don't know if they still do it or not, but
Never heard of it on
yeah,
iOS.
you can do Bump it. Android emulators, they're always fun to deal with. Download an Android emulator, plug in your Android device, and it will bring up everything that's off your phone, and then you can play with it and move things around. And then you can save that configuration back to your phone, and it'll move everything to where you had it saved. But you can also break your phone by doing that too, by taking out code too. So there's a lot of things you can do to your phone. And what about rooting? All right, that's Android's term for jailbreaking. If I'm going to root my phone, how am I going to do it? What about gingerbread?
love it.
XDA.
Yeah, it's pretty good during Thanksgiving and Christmas time, right? Getting that pumpkin spice smell. The only sad thing about it is I found out after I got married that I go on a diet. I can no longer have pumpkin pie in the house. I can no longer have pumpkin cookies.
But now with your newfound whatever, you can eat anything you want and still lose weight. So
Okay. Just because never mind.
You
I'm not
mean
gonna
ginger break?
No, I'm talking about gingerbread.
Okay.
I know what it says in there for the title of the vulnerability is ginger break. I just got on gingerbread. So what do you think about gingerbread? Break.
I haven't read chapter 4 yet. So.
We're covering chapter 4 right now.
Spoilers.
No, we
Ginger break.
Chapter 2 until today.
I told you we're covering 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah, because
In the
you.
beginning, not last week when we had class, or didn't have class.
Yeah, I told you I wasn't going to be here last week. So you're still responsible for all the information. And considering that you're going to have a quiz on it this weekend, you might want to be familiar with it, right? Hint, hint, hint. All questions from here on out in your test will be essay-based.
What?
All your quizzes in this class from here out will be essay-based. Then you either have 4 or 5 per section. Okay? And good thing is you don't have to worry about anything beyond page 95 for chapter 4. What is ice cream sandwich? That's not something that I'm going to be eating here in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why they like
It's
naming it.
Android 4.0. Or
With ice cream sandwich, it has a chmod error. You know, Android's based off of Unix, right? Change mode gives you change mode vulnerability to where you can control who has read-write and execute privileges. Is that a bad thing?
That could be a good
It
thing.
could be a very bad thing. And that's what, it also gives you change ownership permissions as well. I'm going to change the ownership from Scott to Wendy on my phone. No, actually I have to do the other way around. Wendy to Scott, so I'd have permission and she wouldn't. Disassembly and repackaging. Remember on your Android project, you're supposed to understand how to disassemble and repackage something and reapply it. So look through the book on probably, I believe, let's say page 91 through 95. We'll give you or 94, gives you a good idea of how to decompile, disassemble, and repackage your system. That is how you root, change it, and upload it.
Is that the one that uses like Java?
Object-C.
Yeah.
Objective-C. Okay? So how many of y'all have ever played with Proxy Droid? Basically, you make your phone a proxy for something. It's kind of a man-in-the-middle type of attack. And you just switch it to all traffic has to go through this proxy to go out. It's just easy way to manipulate network traffic so that you can get information from someone that maybe if you make your Android phone a hotspot, everyone's traffic goes through you and then you can get information that you need. Right? I'm not going to talk about that. No, I need to talk about that. The biggest thing with Android is information leakage. Okay? Android is not secure by any way, shape, or form. You have iOS and then Android, which acts very similar to Windows versus Apple. Okay?
That's why China's going to now use Android instead of Microsoft,
Oh yeah, because they can do anything they want.
because they can control everything they want to control.
Not just China, but anybody.
Well,
So
China won't allow Microsoft into their country.
Microsoft won't allow China to have it. It's U.S. export law.
Yeah,
It's kind of a.
both sides. They
You-
both hate each other, I guess.
Now China loves Microsoft because all the vulnerabilities. Is there any questions, items, concerns? Yes, Cameron.
For our project.
For your project. For which one?
For the Android one.
For the Android project, okay?
I can see that we're not all going to get our own Android device to root.
I have not had the chance to get the images uploaded to you. So I'm.
Was your question, is each team member going to have the opportunity to?
I'm going to make. We all each had your own phones. You had a Windows phone, you had a BlackBerry phone, and 2 Android phones. Okay, I was going to give you all the images for all 4 of those phones. I've got Encase now on my system. I'm waiting for the IT department to open the port so it can validate the license on my machine in my office, and then I'm going to be able to move them over. I've got the devices downstairs to do, and I've got it on my things to do list. But until they tell me they've got that port to where it will match the licensing thing, so my Encase will actually open up and I can actually do things with it, I'm kind of stuck.
2 people who did not get the opportunity to use the phone when?
They had their own Droid. They're the ones that are online. They had their own Droid and an iOS phone to deal with, and so they were doing that out on their own. But I am going to give them the image copy as well, so they can have the chance to play with it. Now, are you talking about having the phone themselves, like
Yeah.
inside your group?
Yeah.
Now, I may let y'all take some home a little bit later on and play with them. as we get further along in there, after I get those images off. That's why I haven't given them back out. And so that you're going to be able to look at all this data and say, what type of information can you get off the phone? How does this work? What are the security vulnerabilities with it? Same thing with the iOS. Is there any other questions?
Just have an image for the Android project and nothing for the Apple project?
I don't have an iOS phone.
Right.
That's the problem. And that's what I'm saying. I wanted you to research that until I can get one in. And I told Ken that I needed a phone, so that's why he's getting me the 6S or 6 Plus or whatever the one he's going to get me. Yes.
Are you gonna be here tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
I'm only here Monday through Thursday.
Well, the only reason why I was asking is tomorrow I'm stopping off at the UPS store and picking up my 6
Mm-hmm.
in the morning. I could have come by here and everything, you could have imaged that fresh phone.
And
I have some iOS 6 images already at home if you want me to just give them to you.
no, not iOS 6. iOS 8 would be the one I would be dealing with, but for the iPhone 6.
Yeah, I'd get my
Not
iPhone 6
iOS, I
tomorrow.
just have image files in my iOS device.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing that with me,
No,
because
this
I
is what
don't
got
have
from-
one.
That's what I got from forensics.
Okay, I don't have one of those, but that would be fun for y'all to be able to play with.
And just open them up in any case. And
Uh-huh,
look at it.
yeah. And
I
then,
was just thinking on that one, it's a fresh phone, there's nothing on it, stuff like that.
no, that's fine, so they can actually go around and play with it and see what they can get out of it. And that'll be absolutely fine. Like I said, until they open that up, I can't create the image.
Okay.
But if he already has one that's already set with an image, hey, let's just do that. That's not a problem. I've got a Droid one at home that I'm ready to just come up and connect, but until I get my physical in-case machine up, then I don't say I'm out of it, but I'm not able to do anything. It's when you have to depend on other people to do stuff for you, like the IT department, and then slow on their thing to open up a port. All I need at one time for about 5 minutes so it can do its thing, and then, hey, I'm good. Any other questions?
Go home and read for it.
Do what?
I gotta go home and recheck the report.
There, I believe there'll either be 4 or 5 questions per chapter from here on out.
Short essay?
All short essay. So when you get your midterm, you're gonna have a bunch of short essay.
How many?
I don't know.
So,
And your final.
on the,
Oh, real quick, before I tell you, I want to do something for y'all.
Like, tell us all about how much you love us.
How much I love you? What?
No, that's
Oh, okay. You have your 9 quizzes, right? You have a mid and a final in this class. If you do all 9 quizzes, you're exempt from the final. However, even if you did all 9 quizzes, if you want to take the final, I will take that grade and replace your lowest grade of the 9 quizzes. But you'll still get that final. Everyone has to take the midterm. So if you miss a week, you have to take the final. I will substitute, or not substitute, but I'll give you the same grade you got on your final to replace that lowest grade. Make sense? If you end up getting a 0, whether you tried or didn't try, that's your lowest grade in here. If you made all 9, you don't have to take the final whatsoever. But if you wanted to take the final because you say you since you missed one, or you got a 90 on one and you want to get 100, you can take the final and get 100 on it. I'll give you 100 for that one as well.
But you're saying if you missed a quiz,
If you miss a quiz, you have to take the final.
right, but are you saying you were gonna take the midterm and replace that grade with your missed?
No, midterm is its own thing. I'm just saying these is all you have in this class minus the 2 projects.
Yeah,
Whatever the date is.
so October,
14th? I don't think it's the
12th.
14th. It would be the...
Opens up to 12, I think.
Yeah, it'll be online. Open book, open note.
okay, sweet.
So if you fail it, you failed it on your own. Yes?
One of the quizzes, you know, I mean, so far we're doing our thing, you know, and so at some point, are you going to, like, if we get something wrong on a quiz, are you going to give us your version of the answer, or are we just stuck to studying for the midterm, knowing our version of the answer?
I'm going to open it back up. I don't have my answer on there, but I'm looking for very specific things. Like on that control question for Chapter 2 quiz, you were asked what's the difference between a traffic channel and a control channel. If you identify traffic has the traffic on it, control has the control management or the management type channel, you got it. I'm looking for that kind of specific. I'm not looking that you write me a 5-paragraph thing. I'm looking as, did you understand the content? Did you
So
get
if
it?
we got something wrong, we didn't get full credit, how do
I
we
will
know
explain
what
it.
you're looking for?
I will explain it.
Okay.
I will tell you on that question, you missed this, this is what I was looking for. But for the majority, so far everyone that has taken quiz 2 and on has done exceptional. You've gotten exactly what I was asking for because I'm very specific in my questions. Now, starting with Chapter 3, in Chapter 4, I'm asking about a vulnerability. I want you to tell me what you understand of that vulnerability. That's a wide array of an answer, so that I have more of a chance to give you full credit than if it's a multiple choice or true false.
But at some point you'll open those so we can look at what our answers were
The
to
week,
study for
the week, the the midterm will be up through Chapter 6. Or no, I'm sorry, up through Chapter 5 because there's 9 chapters. The first 5 chapters, I will open that up the week prior. I will open up all and let you see what you missed on every question. That's in any of my classes. The week prior to the midterm, every single quiz will be opened up for you to go view at that point. Now from quiz 6 through 9 won't be until the week before the final. Does that make sense? But you'll still have 1 through 5 open. And comprehensive will be final.
At some point you'll open them up, we can go look at our
Yes,
answers.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes, Brittany.
Like, final, what was the 6 through 9 thing?
That is the second half of this class.
Right.
Okay?
So the final,
The final exam will be chapters 1 through 9. But I'm not opening up 6 through 9 for you to view the answers. If you missed something and I wrote you a little note saying you missed it, you won't be able to see that until the week before the final. But since all my quizzes in here are open book, open note, I would hope that you would not miss anything. Because like I said, if you do, you're failing yourself. Yes, Sean? Or not Sean. Oh, okay. Any other questions?
For example, let me just to clarify, Chapter 3 quiz, okay? It asks us a question to do some stuff, and I'd go to the chapter, you know, and to answer the question, I'd go reread the section, and I'd highlight kind of what I end up putting in my own notes, but I highlight the area where I said, okay, I think this is the information he's looking for. Okay, as long as that was good and I got full credit, I'll be able to look at that later at some point.
Yes.
And if I missed something, you'll have a note in there telling me what I missed.
Right, and I'll say, let's say it was a 5-part thing and you only gave me 4 parts. I'll say, here's the 5th part that you were missing that you need to include. And that way you know what you need to know for your final or midterm, the week prior.
I'll be able to go back and re-highlight that section and go.
Right, and you can go back and say, no, I need to make sure that I add this part in there.
And then will the midterm be like a closed book thing where we come in here and take it?
It is an open book, open note on your own midterm.
That's pretty easy.
Your final will be comprehensive, closed book, closed note.
So there's the motivation to get it all done before then.
Yep. Is there any questions? I think I've really made y'all feel good about not having to take the final in this class tonight, didn't I? So on the finals week, I'll probably see no one.
No.
Absolutely. That depends. If you make an extra credit.
Maybe somebody will show up and say hi.
I told you I'd replace your lowest grade. So if you have hundreds on home, why show up? You exempted from that.
Extra credit.
I don't give extra credit.
credit.
All right. Y'all have a good one.